Hello and welcome to another video on the Tips for Higher Performance in Less Time at Commanding General Staff Officer course. In this video I'll be talking about how I begin to write papers. It's a very lockstep process on how I do that in order to make sure that I don't waste any time and minimize rewrites as I go along while still meeting the criteria for an A paper. So first I'll talk about kind of going through this order. So first let's talk about saving and setting up a new copy of the template. If you watched the previous video, you'll see the link for the paper template in Google Drive. Go ahead, copy that template. What I'll do is next to my classes folder, I'll make a folder called deliverables. Okay, and in there, let's say this is my C400 paper. So C400. Okay, and then I will paste a copy of that template in there. I will rename it to my name, C400 exam, for example. They call a lot of these papers exams. That's why I'm calling it an exam here. I will open up that Word document and change the template to match whatever C100. Let's call it leadership, whatever that class was, and then whatever my topic is. I'll just leave that there for now. Make sure I add my name. Okay, everything else looks great. Again, make sure I copy, edit this, C400 take-home exam, the topic. Okay. Once you have your template updated for your personal information, then you can just copy and paste this stuff as needed. All right, I will get rid of a lot of these existing stuff, including my bibliography. I'll be able to do that later. And now that I've got it, vanilla template, I will save that, Control S, holding the Control key and pressing S at the same time saves. And then I will go into Mendeley. As you can see right here, I've already done this, but I'll make a folder for CGSC, and then for each essay I will create its own folder. In this case, I had a lot of citations in my F100 essay, C500 less so. So I will create my folder for whichever class I'm about to write a paper for, and I'll have that. I could either drag and drop from my normal class folders. If you watched the previous video about taking tests, I will have a lot of the reading material from class in the class folder already. So I can just go, for example, if this is C400, click my C400 top level, here's all the sources. And then when I'm ready to add that source to my essay, I'll just drag and drop into that essay folder, and I will have it as part of my essay list now. Additionally, I can go to scholar.google.com, and the topic of the essay, do some search. So for example, if it was critical thinking, I can look at, what's some of the more popular sources on critical thinking. So here's a book cited by a whole bunch of people. This one's cited by even more, but it's written in 1980. The way I can get more recent sources is I look at what has cited that book. So by definition, if it's citing something from 1980, it has to be more recent than that. This has a whole bunch of citations on critical thinking. 1994, getting closer to present time. 2020, a whole bunch of citations. It's a book learning about adulthood on critical thinking. And so now I'm up to recent times. Again, another very recent article here, 2014. And this will probably be a good starting point. I can open up this file from scholar.google.com and see if there's any tidbits that I want to maybe include into my essay here. This actually is not looking like it's actually from 2014, which is fine, but you get the idea. All right, so now I have my fresh template. I have my Mendeley folder set up, ready to have citations added to it, and I've got Google Scholar open, looking for other citations that I might want to take a look at. My next step after that is going to the rubric. Pardon me. So what will happen, you'll have to search around class by class. It changes exactly where this link may be. It may not be on Blackboard. It might be a Word document actually giving you the rubric. But oftentimes these essays will have a link right below. If you go into my grades for the course on Blackboard, right underneath the exam, it'll say View Rubric. View Rubric will bring up a website that looks like this, where you'll have A+, and then a description of what an A paper looks like, what a B paper, what a C paper looks like, and how, and they'll give different criteria for each thing. So here it's performance indicators, but on other papers it might be clarity, and then it will be appropriateness or something else. They'll have different evaluation criteria, so they'll form a grid. What you want to look at is not really the A. Don't look at the A. Really the juicy stuff is in this B or C range. A little bit counterintuitive. But the B and C descriptions, at least when I came through the course in 2020, that actually had most of the detail on what they were looking for. And the A descriptions were basically, did this, but better. So really what you want to look at is this B and C. And oftentimes it'll have a phrase like uses multiple examples of X, or compares and contrasts this and that. And so what you want to do is in your blank document as you're going through the rubric, say example 1 of topic. So let's say we're writing about creative thinking, example 1 of creative thinking, example 2 of creative thinking. And then another rubric piece might be compare and contrast how creative and critical thinking support each other. So contrast of creative and critical thinking. And I go through and I make sure that everything that's on that rubric, all the evaluation criteria, I've copied it in some form or another in my own words here. And so now I know, okay, I need an example of creative thinking, and then I need another example of creative thinking. I don't know what those are going to be yet, but now I have to also contrast creative and critical thinking. So now I've got all my rubric items there. So I know as long as I don't forget any of these bullet points moving forward, I will have an A paper, as long as I use proper grammar, because I will have hit every single thing that's on the rubric for an A paper. Now I just need to fill these out. So what I'll do is find sources for each rubric item. Again, this goes back to Mendeley, either a combination of using scholar.google.com or my folder that hopefully you've already made for the course. So if this is a C400 essay, I go on my C400, look at all these different files, say, okay, FM6, that's probably got a good source in there. So now I can look through FM6. The other nice thing about Mendeley is it allows you to highlight or take notes. So then I can jump to notes that I've taken while I was doing my reading. Okay, here's a good example that I liked that was from that class. I can now copy and paste this. One thing you can do as well when I'm writing papers, let's say I want to copy and paste, if this is a figure or a table, I want to copy and paste this out of here. It's hard to do it in Mendeley, but if you go to the actual file right here, open file externally, that'll open it in Adobe Acrobat. And now I look at, all right, which page am I on? I am on page 96 of 394. So type in 96. And now I've got this table that I want to put into my paper. In this case, it's more of text. Sometimes it's figures, but if I do want this exact text in my paper to use as a source, I can press the Windows key, start typing snipping tool, S-N-I-P-P, open the snipping tool, click new snip, and now I drag and drop over this area that I want to use from my source in my class readings. I go back to my paper, say, okay, that was a good example of creative thinking. I can probably work with that. Hold the control button, press V, and now I've got this example in there. But before I move on, this will make life much easier. Okay, now I've got this example. Let's call this table. So table 1. And now I look at my source. So this is generic base running estimate. Okay, generic base running estimate format. And because I already have it in Mendeley, what I could do is this is FM 6-0. So now I can go to my references tab. I already have my Mendeley added to Microsoft Word. If you haven't done that step, go back to the previous video where I talked about Mendeley. And then I'll just type in FM 6-0. Oops. Okay. FM 6-0, there it is, press OK. All right, and now I've got it in there. I think I accidentally added a citation right there. FM 6-0, okay. Boom, okay, now I've got this footnote. I want to convert that to an endnote. That way I'm complying with the CGSC formatting guide. Everything's in endnotes. Now I've got this, I can delete it later, no big deal, but now I've got a figure, a table that I'm ready to use and can inspire me as I'm adding to these bullet points as I go along. So example of creative thinking, let's say the Sinafin framework, and I want to add a reference from there, so Sinafin, okay. Now I've got that reference already there, convert to endnote. Okay, and I'm already building my bibliography as I'm going along as well. Sinafin framework, and maybe I want an image of the Sinafin framework. So I go back to Mendeley. I remember that that was a thing, but I don't remember where it was. I just go back to my overall folder in Mendeley, type in Sinafin, double click to open the document again. Okay, now I have an image there. Okay, looks good. If I did good notes while I was reading the first time for preparing for class, I will have certain things highlighted. I like this image here, but again, I can't copy it out of Mendeley, so I will open file externally one more time. I know it's page 18 of 42, so go to page 18. And now I should be able to click this raw image, copy image, paste, and then repeat the same process. Figure 1, Sinafin framework, add citation, Sinafin. Okay, and now I'm already making sure that there's no way I can't plagiarize because I'm doing my citations as I write. Once you've got all of your rubric examples in there, you've added 1 or 2 sentences that you think might be applicable, found some figures from your readings that you thought might be useful, maybe, maybe not. You're still not quite sure the direction you want to take this paper, but now you've already got a lot of these graphics and tables in there that can support whatever thesis you want to go for. The next step I'll do is I'll take this rough draft, all these bullet points, I'll move them below, and then I'll really focus on writing a very strong introductory paragraph. Take your time with this. Really, honestly, I spend, for the CGSOC papers, I probably spent a good 50% of my time plus just getting to this point where I've have these bullet points, I've got my figures and tables that I like from the readings, maybe did a little bit of research on scholar.google.com, and now I'm going to spend the rest of that half the time writing the paper just writing that introductory paragraph. Make sure that you're really happy with the thesis that you pick. The theme, it really sets the tone for your whole paper, so your theme will start coming out with this introductory paragraph. So that 5 or 6 sentences that makes that introduction, really rewrite it, go through at least 5 or 6 drafts of that introduction paragraph. At that point, you should have something pretty polished. And now you've got a theme, you know what your thesis is going to be, you've got your figures, and you know what the points you need to hit along the way in the paper are going to be because you grabbed them out of the rubric. Now it's really just a matter of converting these bullet points into paragraphs in full prose and adding little bits of information or additional resources as you're going along. But at that point, it really is just, you can go on autopilot, just filling out the information. So hopefully that's helpful and provides a good understanding of how I approach papers. And really, I want to emphasize cite as you go, use Mendeley to make sure you don't make any mistakes with the citations. Update that Mendeley library as you find good sources, even if you don't necessarily think it might be useful, especially if you're going through other classes. or you're reading something just on your own, news article, for example, and you're like, hey, this actually is kind of applicable to either a class I have or I'm about to have. While it's fresh in your mind, grab that news article, save it to a PDF, and then throw it into your Mendeley folder for that paper. And then you'll already have all that stuff ready when you want to write. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and have a good day.